Would you like to learn about the perspectives and experiences of an international global head of compliance and data privacy? Let's do that together with Deepa. She's the global head of compliance and data privacy at Sonova in Switzerland. Deepa's job as a compliance officer both at Sonova and other organizations in the past involves establishing ethical standards and integrity platforms in large organizations. Ethic has been her unwavering North Star and one which has helped her to establish herself as a strong leader during critical paths in her careers. Deepa's passions include digital ethics, whistleblower protection, and diversity and inclusion. Deepa is an Indian and has lived and worked in Singapore and Switzerland for the past 23 years. She's a lawyer and holds a master in business law, a master in information science, and is a qualified privacy professional. I'm glad to have her here today.
Corporate integrity, fraud, non-compliance, and cybersecurity. Would you like to understand the root causes, detect threats, and take measurements to protect the most precious assets? As a leader, you need to be prepared and stay actionable in the event of an incident. Sonja Stirnimann talks in her podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters, to leaders and entrepreneurs who want to have impact, foster corporate integrity, and act as role models. As an international expert for corporate governance and integrity, entrepreneur, and independent board member, she knows the challenges. Let her inspire you.
Welcome back to this new episode of the podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters. You might be a board member, executive or non-executive, a business professional, a corporate integrity counsel, or on your way there. I'm your mentor and sparring partner when it comes to corporate integrity with impact, founder of Corporate Integrity Concepts and the Corporate Integrity Academy with its leadership circle, with the vision to protect and secure assets, reputation, and actionability, yours and the one of your organizations. Why? Because corporate integrity matters to all of us. Now listen to the perspective Deepa brings in today. A deep welcome to you, Deepa. I was looking forward to meet you again, unfortunately still virtually because we are in the middle of the pandemic. I hope it's going to be end soon, but now we do it. Even though we are so close, we both live in the same canton of Switzerland. So it's a pleasure to have you here in the podcast because when we met, I think it's about 3 years ago, we were having the ACFE training, the boot camp, and I think it really matched from the first day when we had the conversation. So thank you for having you here. We already heard that you are the global head of compliance and data privacy at Sonova. And now I would like to give you the floor that you can share also your experience in the field of corporate integrity and what it means to you. So it's up to you. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Sonja. First of all, thanks for this invite. And it's indeed an honor and pleasure to be here in your platform. Talking to someone I look up to very, very much as a women leader and as a person of integrity itself. So, from many facets, I've always admired you. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. To the question of, what does corporate integrity mean to me, or how does that apply to me? I've gone through this facet of corporate integrity in every way, right from setting it up in corporations, understanding what are the elements of corporate integrity which suits the day to day, because that is a changing game. It's a changing beast. The beast is different every day. To the other end, to the receiving end of corporate integrity, where you are at a point where you think, who will take care of me now? So, I have gone through that entire spectrum of things.
Wow.
So it's been an interesting journey.
So would you like to talk about that? I think especially the one when you thought, who takes care on me right now? Or is it too, I think it would be interesting also for our listeners to hear from someone who went through that, and maybe also the listeners which never experienced it, and especially also the ones who should take care.
Well, this is not just for me, but I think every person. This is probably the world order, right? Nobody likes to be questioned. Nobody likes to be challenged. And when it comes really close to the top leaders, questioning is not something that is welcome. So at that end, I think I probably resonate the feelings of many others in the industry or in the world. I mean, take the case of all the other whistleblowers that we know of. It's always been a very difficult journey for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is not just for me, but for anyone who would raise such a voice to feel safe anymore. Because then you start thinking, if you are having the cloud of whatever your title, your protection or the immunity that comes with your title feels unsafe and insecure.
But does it also mean, this immunity of a title? So because at the moment when that happened to you, you already reached a very high level within the organizations. That's my understanding.
Again, your title is never an immunity.
Absolutely.
As far as standing up and speaking up, and also integrity and values are concerned. And I think that is something very unique to this world, where if you want to stand up for your values, you have to know that it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And unless you have that conviction that I have to live my values, you cannot do certain job. So I think it comes with the territory that when you are standing up for a set of values, you also have to demonstrate it at any cost. So that kind of probably gave me the strength to go through whatever I went through. But having said that, it only helped me to understand what corporations need to do better. Where I can make a difference for any other organization or for the world in ensuring that people who stand up for their values, who stand up for the larger cause, need to be not just protected, because probably people don't need so much protection, but need to be heard in the first place and need to be celebrated all the more.
Absolutely. And that's also what we see, or what I see when I'm out at the client and I'm in contact with all these whistleblowers or people speaking up. I think sometimes it's also difficult when we just use the term whistleblower, because that's another box, but I think it's very important that people speak up, no matter what it costs. But on the other hand, people have to be supported to do that, and that's what I think it's often not the case, because there is no support within the organizations, and often they don't even know to whom may I speak to get that support to take care on, that I can really go through that journey. I don't know what your experience was on that, but how did you feel? You already said you felt, to whom may I talk? Maybe, I'm not sure. So I think it must have been very, very hard for you, just feeling lonely at that moment.
You're right, and that's consciously why I was trying to avoid the word whistleblower, because it comes with a connotation to it, and I wouldn't use the word without being very sure about why I'm using it. So no, I think it is all about standing up for one's values. It's as simple as that. Whatever that value is, as I'm constantly reflecting, values are something that comes with your upbringing, your culture, your background, your experiences in life, right?
Nevertheless, I think also people with that strength need to be protected, and I think they need to be heard. And it would also be interesting for us to hear your perspective now on what should be done differently, and especially also on board level, because often the head of compliance is not part of the management board, which is for me, sometimes it's a risk. And also this kind of dotted lines we have from the audit or risk committee to the compliance officer, it is written on a paper, but often it's not lived. So all these informal organizational behaviors are often killing the information, how it's going to be how we are going to be informed. It's not transparent enough. That's what I also see sitting in different boards. And I think, hey, it's nice that we have it, but it doesn't work. So we have to make sure that it really works. And the compliance officers, which have to speak up, that they have that also protected line of information to the people they need.
Right. I mean, as far as sitting at the table is concerned, the compliance officer gets to sit at the table of the management board in several American companies, especially if they are pharma or healthcare focus, right? Because of the ethical issues that arises out of testing medicines and adverse effects of medicines, etc. So there is a lot of voice. Again, why is that so? It's because of the direct effect of not having those leaders at the right place, so that the bottom line is not affected. So every time the bottom line is affected, that's when the compliance or other functions get a place on the table.
Fully agree. Yeah.
So that is, again, going back to our discussion of what value does compliance or integrity bring to the table, is the question, right? So every company looks at it differently. The definition of integrity is understood differently. So if it is understood in a way that it has an effect on the bottom line, definitely compliance is going to be part of that discussion, or integrity is going to be part of that discussion. But
Absolutely.
In most cases, it's not, or it's not seen today as bringing some value to the bottom line. But things are changing. Things are changing so fast that we are moving away. The world is shifting. The world of integrity has started to move from human values, just values in general, as how we understand, to digital values, right? So there you will have a difference to the bottom line. So probably, and I'm still hopeful that the day is very near where compliance is going to make a lot of difference to the bottom line.
Absolutely. And not only when it comes to digital ethics or digital integrity, for example, but also when we talk about all these ESG goals, we have the SDG goals and everything, now it really affects and impacts our bottom line. And before, it was just some kind of diffuse term nobody wanted or was able to understand. And as you said, it was really also, the understanding was so different, because what is a set of value? What does integrity mean to us? But we also have, that's also what I say, we have individual integrity, we have a team integrity, and we have business integrity. And it's not just summing up. We have to talk about it. What does it mean to us? And it also goes back to the purposes and strategy of each single organization we have here. So
Absolutely. And I think that's well put, that, the shift is not just coming from, the digital aspects or the ethical aspects of it, but also from the investor politics that is happening. Mm-hmm. The investor politics is kind of pushing the companies to do the right thing in the right way, right? So there's, as I said, when it is affecting the bottom line, that's when companies will sit up. So the investor politics is a very large movement that is now helping establish compliance as a completely different beast. So I think, as I said, I'm very, very hopeful, and I'm very convinced that it's not too far away where integrity or the compliance function will be heard a lot more, and that we will get the required recognition and the immunity for saying the right things when we have to call it out.
Absolutely. That's also what I think, and I think it took a while. It took more than 25 or 30 years right now, because I remember when we first started talking about ESG. It's a long time ago, and it was just too early. And also compliance, it was the business compliance, and for most of the people, it was always just a burden. But at the end, it really protects our assets, our shareholders, our stakeholders, so everything. So whatever we established over the last years, it needs to be protected. And that's what I think, or that's just I'm so convinced it's really integrity and making the right things, also for our society,
for our world,
yeah,
for the planet Earth, for our future, for our children, for our grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And which other function can, sit up and say, hey, I'm making a difference to the world. This is the only function, in my opinion. And I feel so proud of being part of that.
Yeah, me too. And that's also, I think for me, it's compliance or integrity is much more than just compliance. Because integrity is a mindset, and you need to have the right individuals on board or in the team to achieve that.
Integrity, as we discussed a bit earlier, integrity has moved away from a rule-based, compliance to a lot more value-based compliance, or integrity is how we call it, or ethics as how we call it a couple of years ago. So it's a shifting puzzle piece. I don't know what we will be called in the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe we'll be called something completely different. Maybe planet savers, who knows? But it has indeed shifted its focus from a completely rule-based to a more ethics-based, to a more behavioral-based, to a more digital technology-based. So it's shaping, it's moving, and it's all the only thread along all of this journey is doing the right thing for the long run, not doing the right thing for the short run. So that's the only thread.
And here we are exactly at another point, when we talk about short term and long term, I think also how we are going to incentivize our people. It needs to be in the long run. And what I often see also in different corporations, it's still another mindset, and we have the principal and agent issues we could also talk about for the next few hours, what it really means. And I think here it's a shift which already started, and there are a lot of companies taking care of it. Other ones are not yet there, but I think we all can contribute on that. And the more we talk about it, the more obvious it's going to be. And I think also integrity needs to have a voice. And so that's the reason why I also highly appreciate that we talk about that here right now, because I think also boards have to waken up and say, hey, it's not just digital, it's an integrated, holistic approach, which is integrity and value driven and nothing else. So what is your wish? If you could have some wishes to the boards, what would you wish you for the future from the boards, supervisory boards, and also management boards?
Well, as I said, that will come, and that's inevitable because of not just investor politics, as we just discussed, but also the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs, as they are entering into the workforce, they are changing the way boards and management boards and all managers think and react, right? They have the power of the social media. They have the power of platforms. They have the power of the word. So we had the power of, when we were growing up, they said the power of the pen. But they've moved away from the power of the pen to the power of the word. One tweet can bring down your company. So in a way, the board and the management board are probably, it would do them good. And I think that they are, when I see, when I sit back and reflect on how the board mindset is also shifting towards that, or gearing up towards that need, is to see that we highlight these as perks.
Yep.
And not just as, this is a good to have value in a little code of conduct. where we say, this is how we live. It's in a piece of paper. But no, this needs to be a perk, or this is already a perk. I mean, I don't know if you, if you've read about this recent news article about an employer in the US who offered basic dignity as an incentive to the new hires. So he goes out and he, leaves a job ad to say, hey, in return, for your application, what I offer you is basic dignity.
Wow. Yeah. So it's changing. It's definitely
changing. Can you believe it? The Gen Z says, you don't treat me well. If there is no dignity, if you're not doing the right thing, I don't want to be part of this journey.
And that's also what I think, it's not, if we want to have the right talents or the right crew, we have to live it. It's not just a piece of paper. And that's also what I see, code of conducts. Most of the organizations still have an issue that people do not understand what's written there. So you don't need to have 12 pages. You just need to have the right ones, the cornerstones of your values and how we should behave and how we want to behave on our world to be set. And if it's not understood by the team, they are not good enough, And it doesn't matter what kind of highly paid agency did it. It needs to be done from the bottom of the heart, because otherwise we are not going to survive the next 5 to 10 years as a business owner, And also large corporations face that right now, because we have so many cases. Looking back at Wirecard, for example, we also have some other cases out there. And we will have the next ones coming. They are just lining up right now. And I think that's exactly what's going to change our world and our behavior. It takes a while. I think it's not going to be done within the next few years, but it takes another few generations to do so. And it's great to have you in that tribe of supporting it and speaking up. So, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I think that is fantastic. It's a fantastic journey in the last 20 years when compliance started, right? Mm-hmm. As a fallout of the Watergate, as a fallout of the whole Enron situation. That's where it all began. It started there, where it started, as looking at rule-based checking, saying, hey, so we were the police, the records police at that point, to being the more moral police today, and probably the sustainability police tomorrow, and hopefully the planet Earth police for the generations to come. So I see that this is going to be this is one of the most drastic changes that a function has probably seen in its entirety. So that way, I think that more power to all the compliance managers or the integrity managers, as they are called. In some companies, they're called the ethics managers as well. So more power to them. And I hope that, we are all able to stand up for the values, not just that is close to our hearts, but also reflecting what the Gen Zs need, what the planet Earth needs, and what the community in general needs. I mean, we are reflecting every aspect of it, diversity and inclusion. I mean, look at what's happening in the world with the Black Lives Matters discussion. It's not just Black life. It's not just white life. It's not just brown life. It's everyone. The world belongs to us, right? So diversity should not be just boxed in skin colors. Diversity is everything. Right?
Absolutely.
Diversity is in every way, in gender, in sexual preferences, in skin colors, in body shaming. Right? I mean, fitting into a size 0 dress for a woman versus, in every way, diversity. That should be the mantra.
That absolutely. And I just, when you said when you came up with the Enron cases and everything, so just one question. So when did you had your first case of non-compliance? Do you remember it? Because I remember my one. It was in 1992. So it turns to be 30 years ago when I had the first one. And I was so upset that that's not how we have to behave. And I was part of a team and said, hey, how do I deal with that right now? So when was your first case?
When was my first case? Actually, I don't even remember when exactly my first case was, but the one I vividly remember was in 2006. That was the first case that I remember vividly. And that was another, those were other days where we were more doing rule-based, ticking the box, where we are saying, okay, I do have these papers. I see that these have been signed off, that there has been an approval process. So everything is okay.
Yeah.
The way we conducted investigations those days was, if you look different. At it, sit back, it's completely different. There was no science attached to it. There's a lot more science today, I think.
And I'm also, I don't know, if you look ahead and say, hey, what's going on in 20 years, with all these rapid shifts we have right now and transformations, also from a business model wise. And what I often see, we are changing, and also what we experience over the last 18 months now in the middle of the pandemic, I think the adaptability also to our values, or to keep the values, even though we have to adapt. I think it's a challenge for a lot of organizations, but also for individuals, because they really have to stick and think about their own values. And how can I bring them in again and speak up if we are not following through? I think it's also going to be another challenge we will face. And we need to support the ones who would like to speak up and make sure that we are role models. So if you could tell the young Deepa as a mentor, what would you tell her? The young Deepa 20 years ago. Is there anything you would like to tell her or give her on her path?
I would tell her a lot of things, because I think I'm a lot more wiser, but hindsight is never that helpful sometimes. But the one thing that I would tell myself is, keep your courage.
Yeah.
And never waver from that, because if you start wavering from your value system, you would not be able to identify yourself anymore. Right.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Never waver from that. I always feel this within me, that I have this iron rod as a backbone. So never let go of that. Stand up straight and say, I did it because that was the right thing to do. Because once you have that conviction, nothing in the world can shake you. Mm-hmm. But you should be right to do that. If ever you're doubting, if I'm doing this for something else, for a bigger gain, or for a betterment, or you're adjusting, you're falling in place, or then you've lost the game. And a compliance officer can never be that. The one quality that is required, and I loved what you said, Sonja. If you're a compliance officer or an integrity officer, the one thing that you absolutely need is your own integrity. Mm-hmm. You cannot be an integrity officer if you are wavering from the integrity values.
You know what? I think, thank you very much for these words. I think it's a great closing here right now. And what you are saying about the integrity officer or compliance officer, I think everybody should be or should have that high level of integrity. That's just what I would like to have for our world, not only the compliance officers, because that's not enough to make the world a better place, and a place with integrity and inclusiveness. And that's what we need to have. So all leaders need or that's my expectation or my wish, all leaders need to have a very high set of integrity. But hearing you, and thank you very much for the last minute spending together with our listeners, I think you're a real role model. So thank you very much, Deepa. And that's exactly what I knew already before. And it's so great that you had the time to spend it with us and also to share your insights and especially your path. It's amazing. And
thank you so much, Sonja. I feel humbled to be on this platform and be called a leader or a role model in this space. But I think there were several who walked this path, and I'm just learning from all those who walked ahead of me. And I want to lead the others who are walking behind me into a similar world, a world for the better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonja.
This was the episode number 28 of the Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters, following the motto Corporate Integrity secures and empowers individuals and organizations. Thank you for listening. My name is Sonja Stirnimann and I'm your host. Stay curious, actionable and a role model. Take care and goodbye. Would you like to learn more, meet peers and getting qualified? So visit the website Corporate Integrity Concepts or Corporate Integrity Academy. Or do you think this podcast could be interesting for someone you know? Sharing is caring, and we are always happy to welcome your peers to our community. And if you like this episode, subscribe and don't miss any of the future ones. The show notes are, of course, enriched with relevant information, and your connection via any of the social media channels is highly appreciated and will be answered. Promised. And please do not forget, topics of your interest or interview partners are highly welcome. Just send me a note on any of the channels you know. That's it from my side. I thank you for listening. My name is Sonja Stirnimann and I'm your host. Stay curious, actionable and a role model. Take care and goodbye.